Hello, everyone, and good evening. Today we have a special guest, a name well known in international field of systemic thinking and, of course, organization constellation. And not only, but I think he don't need so many presentations. So I would like to say, Cecilio, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here with you and
Amazing.
to have a small conversation.
Yeah, I'm very happy you accept that and you take your time, of course, for this. So, Cecilio, if you introduce yourself beyond the titles and roles, how you'll describe you today?
Today, I would say that I'm a man with 76 years old with a lot of personal and professional experience. It's difficult to define who I am because in personally I change a lot of things. In professional life, I had so many different things that I began as entrepreneur with a lot of different business in different areas. And in the last 20 years, I'm more focused on organizational constellations. But at the same time, I'm an investor in the financial market and developing new tools for doing this work better. I would say that I used to define myself as an expert of generalities. So I'm not an expert of anything, but I know little things of a lot of things.
Yes, looking back, what originally called you to systemic work and the organizational constellations?
It was a time when I was with a lot of companies, and I was running 4 or 5 companies at the same time. And in a way, I was a little tired of being a fireman instead of a manager. And I said to myself, I have to find another thing different. But I didn't know what it. But I was tired of I had a lot of employees, about the banks, the taxes, all that. And so I decided to sell all my companies. And it was a process that took about 5 years because they were small and medium companies. And at the same time, I was searching for new things. And I experiment a lot of different things. And this is a long story. And just I arrived to organizational constellations. And when I find organizational constellations, I was completely in love because I could understand how organizational constellations can help companies. And I said to myself, that's a pain that I didn't knew this when I was a manager in my companies. And so it was the change of my life was that. Okay. And after things began to implement well, I started first doing workshops and working with companies. After I started with trainings, and that's when people began to know me internationally. So I travel a lot with a lot of countries before COVID. And after COVID, I'm doing the same thing, but mainly online. And so it's much better because my traveling, for instance, for China, it takes just 5 minutes. And I come home every day, every night to sleep at home. And and in a way, it's an excellent tool, very complementary to help managers to get better decisions.
So you answered me already to 2-3 questions, but I have different questions for you too. By the way, I want to say to the listeners, Cecilio, it's one of my mentors when we speak about system thinking, organizational constellation, and business constellation. So I learn a lot of him. So I like to ask you, Cecilio, how do you explain systemic thinking to someone who has never heard about it before?
This is quite simple. I would say that we human beings, we have a lot of information inside of us. And most of that information is not conscient. It's somehow hidden. And okay, there is that rule that we have conscient 10% and 90% inconscient. So when you are in your company, you know a lot of things of your company in an inconscient way. There are a lot of dynamics that happens in the company, and even from the past of the company, that you have it, but you don't have access. So with this method, what we help the client is to access those parts that are hidden in the client. And this is a small process that we do, like role playing, like more or less a role playing. And it's really interesting that the client thinks at that moment that he had divine inspiration. But it's not a
Yeah.
divine inspiration, it's some inspiration that came from the inside. But with this process, somehow those things that were hidden in the client come up. And that can help a lot the clients to decide. And what the managers and the entrepreneurs want, and all of us, what we want, is to have more information to take better decisions. And that is what we can do to the companies. And this is a process that normally takes not much time. I would say between 1 hour and 2 hours, I would say that. And it's really very clear in the mind of the client what to do. I remember to have a very interesting experience with a company that it was a multinational pharmaceutical, and they wanted to hire a new general manager, and they had the right person, and they were just to sign the contract with him, but they had some doubts that they didn't know. It was some feeling, and they asked me if I could do a constellation for them. It was really interesting that when we did it, that information appears, and he could realize that that person only wants the job for the money. He was not looking for the clients. He was not looking for the teams. And in a way, they said, oh, this is amazing. That in a way, they knew it, but it was hidden.
Yes.
And at the end, they told me, Cecilio, if we would hire him, we would lose a lot of millions of dollars.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I can.
it was really amazing.
Yes. So why technical solution often fail, and when systemic dynamics are ignored?
We have to understand two things. And when I go to a company, first, I like to look to the company in a rational way. That's the way we used to see, and to see if something is not going well. We can detect that we have systemic dynamics in case that that dynamic repeated. For instance, you have the marketing manager that is not working well, and so you dismiss him and you hire another one. And the other one comes, and you see that it doesn't work well. And in a way, okay, you fire him and you hire another one, and it happens the same. So if this dynamic repeated, it's something about systemic, and that we should look. And in some cases, in these cases, some cases is, and it happened a lot, is that perhaps you dismiss without respect the previous marketing director, and that information stays in the system in an inconscient way, but affects the dynamic of the company. We can explain these systemic things in companies or in families. It is like the same in our body. The information is in our body, and all parts of our body knows the information of everywhere. And there are something that perhaps is hidden here. And perhaps with some diagnosis, the doctor can detect that. But we don't have any pain, we feel well. So the systemic is more like that. So I don't like to say that it's systemic, in a systemic way, it's better than how you said, the technical or the rational way. No, both are complementary and both can
Mhm.
help each other. This is in the case of hidden dynamics or problems. But also, what I said before, it's really very interesting to access information. For instance, I remember that with one client that we had, before they launched the movies in the market, they would do an assessment to see if it was okay or not. And at the same time, they began to do a constellation. And after a while, they forgot the assessment because the assessment is quite expensive. And they did just the constellation. And this is not magic. This is information that is inside of the client. And we don't know exactly how it came conscient. But with our experience and with our techniques, we facilitate the process to the client so the client can access to that. So the process of organization constellations is not like a consulting that I get information and after I give my opinion to the client. No. So I work hand by hand with my client. I facilitate the process to the client. And the client sees what happens. And suddenly, some new idea pop up and the client says, wow, like that. And this is
So
really very interesting.
yeah, it's amazing. It's next level, like I said always. So, from your experience, Cecilio, what do system ask again and again, regardless of culture or country?
That's a lot of people ask me because I work in very different countries. And in a way, we think that countries are different. And what I can see working with different kind of people is that at the deep level, we are all the same. At the surface, culturally, we are different. But I remember last year I did a training for Chinese people. So they think different than us. And mainly it's somehow, at the beginning, it was difficult for me to understand the reactions because they don't do many reactions. But when we go more deep and when we go to some questions, the worries are the same. Of course, in an ambience different, in a different ambience, but are the same because we are all human beings. And that is what is interesting. I give you another example, very interesting, that, as you know, in Brazil, they talk Portuguese as in Portugal, and I came from Portugal. And we used to say, and that's true, that the Portuguese people are very closed people, so it's difficult to enter. And the Brazilian, we know their culture, they are laughing all the time, playing, and we say they are open. That's the image that I have for the Brazilian. And that image changed when I went to Brazil to work. And what happens is that with the Portuguese, you find immediately the goal to not enter. With the Brazilian, it's very easy. You begin to enter, and suddenly you arrive to the goal, and it's more difficult to go. But when you can enter, it's the same. It is the same. We are really very, I would say, we are very similar, and at the same time, we are completely different. Each one of us came from a different family system. We were born in our parents had a factory to make us a unique person. And at the same time that they made us, and this is proven, they give us all the biological inheritance. So we have a lot of information from our past in terms of health, in terms of how we are, in terms of hair, skin, everything. It comes from there. And so we are unique. So we are, and we see another person is completely different. So sometimes I used to say that I cannot understand another human being because they are different. But this is how we were made. But in the deep level, we have the same kind of dynamics, the feeling of we wanted to belong, and we feel it in all time of countries. That is beautiful when we start working in this area. It's really beautiful to understand that we are much more similar and at the same time completely different.
Yeah. Now we shift a little bit to loyalty, and what I'd like to ask you, how do you see loyalty operating inside businesses or organizations? Depends.
Loyalty comes a lot from the desire to belong, and that we can see a lot in family. And so sometimes I cannot do things because I want to belong to my family. And to belong to my family, I have to be inconsciently equal to them. I give you an example. For instance, perhaps I can make money easily, I can make a lot of money, and I can have a lot of success. But sometimes I lose all my money. And after I recover and I make a lot of money and I lose all my money. Okay. And this is strange. How can I do money and I lose money at the same time? That can be related with the internal dynamic that is inside of me that came from my family. So,
Family
for instance,
system.
if not only that was in the family, but also when I was young, if, for instance, in my family, they said, okay, if you want to be rich, you have to work very hard. And the rich people, they are thieves or drug dealers or people that heritage from their parents. Okay. So as I did heritage from my parents, I don't want to be a thief and I don't want to be a drug dealer. So I'm going to lose my money in an inconscient way. So I don't look like them. And so if I continue poor, I feel that I belong to my family.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of loyalties that we have in the family system and also in the organizational system that don't allow us to do or to have some success. When we understand that dynamics, and mainly the point is that when we can access to that dynamics and put it in a conscient level, I can change my dynamic. And that's why Constellations is so interesting because it gives us that conscience. And I said, oh, I understand that I'm following my family. And if you go to another and really, and this is from generations, for instance, and in a lot of families they say, if you want to be rich, you have to work hard. So you work hard to have
To be
money.
rich. Yeah.
But if you, for instance, can earn money with not a very hard work, you feel guilty because
Yeah.
it
To
gets
be.
that mandate of that.
Yeah. To be
So
there.
there is so many dynamics, inconscient dynamics in us that don't allow us to do things. And these dynamics mainly came from the family system. But of course, when we go to the organizational system, we bring all these dynamics with us. Because a lot of people says, okay, we can split, this is family system and this is organizational system. No, it's not. When I arrive to my company, I take my family with me. And when I arrive to my house, to my family, I take my company with me. Mm.
Yeah. This was actually very, very difficult for me to understand in the beginning. So I think how I can do that, and after some years I understand. Wait, it's working like this. So now I understand why. So Cecilio, for the listeners, if they want to contact you, how is which channel is more comfortable for you? How they find you and come in contact with you?
They can find me in Facebook or in LinkedIn is the best. Or if they want to access my website, that is talentmanager.pt. But if they search in Google, they find me easily.
Easily, yeah. I hear you have a new training, you offer online, offline. How is it? The train?
This year, I'm not going to offer an online training. I offered this since the COVID. I did it, but now I'm going to rest a little of online. And I'm offering now presential training in Romania. That will be in March. It will be 3 modules of 6 days. It's a good training. And it will be March, June, and September. And then at the middle of them, we'll do also an online training so people can learn how to work online with this tool.
Yeah, with Sexy Tool, I guess I was the very big promoter of Sexy Tool, I guess, in Romania marketplace. And not just that, I think Romanian need a lot organizational, and I'm very happy many people and you go there to contribute with your presence and everything what you know. Like this, all the system, maybe they start to understand better this work and implement it in some way. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now we shift a little bit of paradigm, and I want to ask you about the legacy, right? And what you want to leave after. So after so many years of practice and all this people have you trained thousands and thousands of people, right? How do you feel it's essential to pass on the next generations?
I don't put any intention on that. I deliver what I have, what I know, or my conclusions and my ideas. And I would like that people use it in their best way they can. I'm not worried about giving the legacy in terms of this is the wisdom of Cecilio. No, because in a way, and do you remember our who began with this, Bert Hellinger, even he said that he didn't know anything about that, about constellations. He was only delivering this. And so for me, I think it's the same. So, and for me, is what is more important in the trainings. It's not to, of course, we train the method, but the main thing that I train is the attitude of the facilitator doing this job. And what I can see is that if you copy me doing what I do, you will do it wrong. So what I try is that people can take some things from me, take some things from other people, and they find their own way to do it. And if I can, is what I do. If you can tell me, because I don't like very much to talk about me, but if I can see me from outside, what I think is that my biggest contribution in this area is to empower people. So what I want, and I think that I can do it well in my trainings, is I want to empower people so they can fly free, and they can fly free in their own way. Because this is not a work that you can copy from the masters. You have to find your
Yeah,
own.
of
And there is
course.
another thing that I'm trying, and now that you talk about legacy, one of my students, as you know, at the end of the training, you should do a final work that can be very different things. And one thing is really interesting, that it was an artificial intelligence of my wisdom. And so she asked me to give her a lot of things that I wrote and a lot of recordings that I have and a lot of things, and she fit that. Okay. And I saw already a sample of that, and it was something quite interesting. Of course, general, like artificial intelligence, but in a way I can see that some of my philosophy is there. And perhaps I will open that. I don't know in how I open or not, but it's quite interesting. I'm also thinking on a book or something, but for the moment I didn't have much time to that. And let's see. I'm not worried for the legacy. No problem. No.
It's very nice you touch the point and the topic of AI, artificial intelligence. Do you hope will remain alive with all this artificial intelligence around?
Ah, I would say that artificial intelligence for me, I'm not afraid of that. Even having 76 years old, I think it's just, for me, is just one thing that came to this world that is on the beginnings and that we have to adapt to it. So when I'm in my time, we didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have PCs. We use only big computers. And that was in the room and like that. So during my life, it came so many things. And it came a big revolution that was internet. And it came Google. And when came Google, everybody says, "Oh, there is the information all there." And we believed on Google. And after we understand that some of the information is not truth. So if you can see for artificial intelligence, what happens is just, it's more like a big Google. So you can have a lot of information there in a very quick way that it can be switched with each other, okay, and can give us interesting answers. But they don't have, artificial intelligence does not have any imagination. It's only the results of what is there. So I don't believe that artificial intelligence can guess something new, some new idea. Sometimes we think, or we can think, that is a good something new, but it's not new because for them to do it, they do it for all the information that is in the back, okay? And most of that information we don't know. So it can look at us that is new. So what is interesting for me is that it will help a lot to do a lot of things quicker. For instance, the other day I was developing a tool. I wanted to develop another tool with more things like Cecilio. And I was 2 hours in with ChatGPT, and I developed the logo, the name in a very quick way. If I had to do it before, it would took weeks. But anyhow, they need me.
Yeah,
So
your
what I say,
creativity.
so what I say is that, okay, artificial intelligence, it would be great for the human, for us to use it. And we have to look at it. It is an excellent tool that perhaps we don't are aware of what it is. And this, the world will be adapt to that. Of course, with artificial intelligence, there will be a lot of jobs that we will not need, okay, because they will automatic things. But it's good because we don't have humans doing automatic things. We can have robots to do a lot of things, okay. It's great. But the humans, our humans, we are going to use these robots. We are going to use this wisdom that is there. So it's only something that it's new and the world will be adopted. That's why I give you an example, because there is a lot of people talking about, these youth people, it's terrible because of the social media and all the TikToks and all that, and without control. Okay, I can say, there is porno in the TikTok and all that, in this kind of things. They can access porno. Okay, when I was 15 years old, I could access porno with magazines that we could buy, and it was hidden, and my father
Yeah.
didn't saw it. Okay, So it's a different way, okay? And we see, okay, now they are less intelligent because they are too much there on the screen. Yes and no. Perhaps they are learning a new way of using the screen that we don't know. So, what I think about mainly the criticism that we do, that we say about these new technologies, mainly is because we are afraid and mainly because we don't understand. But if we can see for that in a positive way, it is okay, this is a reality and this will not finish. Okay. Will not finish for the children of 5 years and will not finish for the man of 76 years old. That will not finish. Okay. So, how can I use it in my best benefit? So, let's go and try to learn how to use it.
Right. It's just a tool in the final of the day. Yeah, amazing. Now I would like to ask you if you have a message for all the younger generations, because if we look up the statistic, the people who work in systemic thinking and constellation and all this field, they are 40 plus, I guess. So if you have a message for young generation, how you can invite them into systemic work?
I would say that perhaps they don't need it. And for me, the young people arrive to this world very much systemic. They came very much intuitive. So in what I see for the future of systemic world, I hope that systemic work will die. Because if systemic work will die, don't worry, it's not in your generation and it's not in mine. Okay, don't worry about that.
We
But
hope.
no, I'm sure about that because there is a lot of transformation that is coming in the world. But it will die because it will be when the humanity we begin to think systemically. And what is interesting on the systemic, for me, is not making constellations, is to help people or to teach people to think systemically. So if you can think systemically, if you can live systemically, you don't have systemic problems.
They need
So
maybe.
what I think about the young people,
Mhm.
one thing that I do a lot in my trainings is that I give scholarships to people that have less than 25 years old because they are amazing and they help a lot in the training because they came with new ideas and different questions. What I would say to the young people is that they will be themselves. I cannot tell anything to them because my view of the world is completely different than them. I don't know how they see the world. So what I can show them is what I know, how I do things, and what I think about the human life and the systemic world. I can share all of that. But I will never say to them, do it in this way. So,
Course.
what I think is okay, mainly be yourself, be coherent with yourself. And it's in the same what I say in my trainings. I say to people, okay, I'm teaching this, but if you don't agree with this, don't take it. Because this, when I say something, is because that resonates with me. Okay. But perhaps with other human being does not resonate. So I'm here sharing, and each one take it at their own way. And the young people will do it in the same way. The big advantage that young people have is they are much more quicker than people from 40 or 50 or 60. And it's in a way that I would say in my generation and even after me, we need a lot of explanations, and we need to understand. The young generation, they don't need to understand. You
They catch
say
it.
something and they say, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense to me. Okay. So no, we are in a way, and it was also because of how we studied. We need to justify because I think like I think. Young people, they don't need that.
I
And
see. I
so
see.
it's the recommendation is be yourself, and please don't imitate us, but take from us what can resonate with you.
I see the gap in any way in the international film everywhere. I can say that. So I think everyone can, if they want and like, to make some form of scholarship like you do, and to live through this systemic thinking and systemic work. So I think it's nice to give just sometime some scholarship what you offer, will help in some way. Wow, nice, a lot of insights you have, Cecilio. And now I'd like to ask you about what still inspire you to continue this work today.
Oh, I'm a man that I will not stop. I will not retire, and I like to change and to do new things. And when I look back, I say I see that in all my business, and this is was something that I recently understood, is that all my business were, or they were unique business, or they were a strange business or different business. Like for instance, organization constellations. And in a way, I'm always looking for new things. So I mean, with organization constellations, I now began this tool that SESI tool. But anyhow, I'm developing another one to be better integration in Zoom, and also to try to put some artificial intelligence on the tool also. That's a challenge. I don't know if it will be possible or not. And I would say that perhaps in some years I will be doing a different thing. I don't know. It's
Nobody knows.
it's for me is something that will give me pleasure, and my pleasure is with this kind of business activities. I'm not a man of going to the beach to rest and all that. So meanwhile, I have good health. I will continue with constellations or any different things that can arise. We never know.
Yes, will be amazing, like we say always. So, Cecilio, what cannot be learned from books or techniques alone in this field?
Yes. I would say that I like to say in my trainings that you don't learn in my trainings. You only learn when you do it. I would say that everything. So in the training, you can get some basis. In the books, the point of the books is that the books explain you the methods in a rational way. So they are explaining 10% of the method. You are not explaining the other one. And the other one you can explain it only on the experiencedly work. So you have to experience. So in my trainings, I like that people will experience since the first module. They began to do some constellations, small constellations of their own. And after I say to them, okay, you will learn when you do it. When you are with a client, and when you are, and the client brings you a problem and you say, now I don't know how to do it, that is when you learn. Because what you learn in the trainings, it's inside of you. So you will be a good facilitator when you forget everything that you learn because it's already integrated on you. I give you an example that it's easy, and it's how we do it. You drive, and when we start learning to drive, it was very difficult because we had to do a lot of small things at the same time. You have the glass, it was really complicated, and the accelerator, it was very complicated. And when you started, you said, I will never drive well because it's too many things. I forget some of this, okay? So when did you start driving well? When you forgot everything. And so your body now knows automatically and you do it. And that is another thing interesting when you see it in this facilitation process of when you learn, is that each one of us drive in a different way because it's from your personality.
Right.
And that's exactly what I do when I try to teach organization constellations. Okay, I can give all these small details. After you have to integrate it inside of you, forget it, and do it with the raw material that is you.
Yes. Wow, thank you again, Cecilio. Like always, a lot of insights, a lot of things to learn from you, and you inspiring a lot and many people, of course. Now, in the final, I want to ask you the last question. I hope I don't tired you with all my questions.
Oh, of course not.
So, if you could say one sentence to future systemic practitioners, what could be?
Believe on yourself.
Okay, very simple. Thank you very much again. You take your time tonight for our conversation with masters. So I hope I see you again.
It was really a pleasure to be here with you in this conversation, and I'm always available for future conversations from here, in person, whatever.
Fantastic. My name is Marius, and thank you for listening.